Welcome to Riverbend Talon on WBGZ. Brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
Also brought to you by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance, Piggly Wiggly.
What is a-happening, Mr. Dennis Laird?
You could say bash.
I started to say Bashley Boo.
Okay, well.
There we go. So, it is another Thursday evening in the Riverbend area, and the sunshine came out just for our show after raining all day.
Wow.
How did you arrange that?
I did not arrange it. You're the one with all the magical powers.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just devil's advocate.
You
know.
Devil's advocate.
Well, somebody's got to be balanced and fair around here.
Fair and balanced. You can't say that.
You seen my eyes roll.
That is a trademark.
Just because the audience didn't catch it.
Oh, I think some of them did.
Oh, they might have. They can on our videos, which are available on YouTube and cottonmouth.org. Just like this list we're about to go through, telling you what's going on around the Riverbend. And coming up in just a bit, man, this is a really cool story because I watched it all develop, being close to the Stauder family. And watched young Christian Stauder, a.k.a. Chris Exodus, fulfill his dream, just like we like to do, right? Remember punk rock?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In our basements?
I love. Matter of fact, I out of all the wrestling stories we've had, this has been my favorite because it's a garage band that made good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but we'll get the whole story here in a little bit. It is, like I say, a great ground up story for these guys, and you actually watched it happen. From the beginning,
it was pretty cool.
It's pretty neat, man.
Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance coming up in just a bit, and
just a
tonight,
few minutes because it's a long interview. So but tonight we got
we're
Shanty. Yeah, we got
we
the
are
Sea Shanty
underway.
sing along already happening down at Morrison's Irish Pub. That kicks off every Thursday at 6 p.m. So we'll go ahead and go down there, get drunk on some Irish whiskey, and sing it up.
Yeah, you missed St. Patrick's Day. It's always St. Patrick's Day right there.
Right.
The sea shanties.
Also,
the Outsiders, 7 to 11 at Fast Eddie's, and you can do the next one.
All right. The Cooliverse is hosting Art by Mark Blood, along with fashion guest Siren Songs from Glam Trash Zodiac and Nikki Bolser of Once Upon a Design. Music will be supplied by DJ CBS, and that kicks off at 8 p.m. That's all at the Conservatory in Alton
Wow,
tonight.
that was just fabulously professionally announced there. You only missed one thing.
What did I
And there's
miss?
some tough ones in there, like that Glam Thrash.
Yeah,
Zodiac.
Glam Thrash Zodiac. What did I miss?
Buzzler, I think is her name.
Oh,
Bustler.
I said Bustler. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, you said something different. I don't remember what that was now.
There-
that was
well.
hours ago. Right?
So there you go. Also,
Open
we've got
mic.
an open mic night going on at the Ragin Cajun.
Also at Baker's and Hale in Godfrey. It started at 5 o'clock with Every Heart and Light. And at Chez Marilyn's back in Alton tonight, 7 o'clock, Haley Woolbright.
Then we've got DJ Tony down at Martin's Tunes and Eats this evening. That's going to go on until midnight.
I always got relaxed when you couldn't announce, because then I didn't have to try as hard. But now you're nailing it tonight.
I'm so sorry. I will mess this next one up really good.
Please, this is starting to sound
the
real.
Graham Band.
Yeah, there you go.
They're going to be 7 to 10 at Georgie's Local Brew in Jerseyville.
That's some good Rickyism there. George's Local Brew in Jerseyville for the Graham Band is what he said in
and then
Ricky language.
And then here, this is happening both tonight and tomorrow night. The Wildey Theater.
Whoa.
Pure Prairie League. I like Pure Prairie League.
Yeah, I didn't have time to do any research or stories this week on the Wildey Theater's acts that they bring through, so I apologize. But
that's all right,
I was
man.
at the last minute. You surprised me with a guest later, so I decided to dive into that so we could save some time.
Yeah, there you go.
So, anyways, back
but there
to
we go. Pure Prairie League tonight and tomorrow night at Wildey Theater. Good band to go check out. Then Butch Moore's going to be at Big Daddy's in Edwardsville this evening, going 6 to 9.
And let's see, Catfish Willie Duo, 7 to 11 at Deutz Village Inn. Karaoke with Lisa at Patrick's in Granite City. David Hall and Jonathan Lee 6 o'clock underway at Old Harold Brewery in Collinsville. Dave Horton underway at Prairie Inn in Dorsey, and Shotgun Creek doing their Thursday night at Silver Creek Saloon in Belleville. That's going on right now, Thursday night here in the Rebo Bend.
That is a nice Thursday evening in our Riverbend community. Kicking into Friday.
One second. Before we go to Friday, I want to send congratulations, so I don't forget, to Tommy Carlos. 100,000 streams.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
There you go, man.
And also, new release from Hideous Gentleman, By and By. New video. Check that out.
All right. And that video probably up on Facebook and all that sort of stuff?
I'm sure it is. Just search for Hideous Gentleman or go to our cottonmouth.org. They're on there.
There you go.
Like all the other bands that we talk about. You can find links to them right there, along with all the venues that we talk about. And if you're out there and wanting to get yourself booked, it's a good place to go.
Yep.
We help you right along.
Links to all of the local venues that are booking
Places
there,
to play your music. Places to promote.
Other bands to hook up with and do shows with.
That's
things
what we're
like
trying
that.
to
All
do,
that great
yeah.
stuff. So there you go. Moving on to Friday evening, March 25th in our Riverbend community. We got the pianos happening at the Ragin Cajun once again. And then we've got Jake and the Truckers doing it from 7:30 to 11:30 at Fast Eddie's Bone Air. Also, Fresh Rain is going to be 7 to 11 at the VFW on Saturday night. Bob Leon. There you go, Leon. There you go, Bob Leon, 8 p.m. at Chez, Marilyn on Saturday evening. And then what is this? Glendale Riders Back the Blue Mustache March. All right. So there you go. That is, everyone knows what Back the Blue is, and the Mustache March, I guess that's...
Isn't that something to do with the
like
village people?
A mustache ride, I think. I don't know.
I'm thinking village people. I'm thinking PD is the cop, and the mustache guy was the biker guy.
All right.
I don't know.
Who's the Glendale Rider?
Oh, wait.
Okay, yeah. So,
There's a cowboy.
There was a cowboy. So
I don't know why I'm tying all this together, but we're talking about something totally different, aren't we?
You see it.
Right.
So no, what we were actually talking about,
Yeah.
I believe, is a Back the Blue mustache march for
That could be
the
like
PD.
a football rally, too. For a blue team.
That's going on 7 p.m. till midnight at Bluff City Grill on Saturday night. Of course, Glendale Riders always bringing a good show.
Police department benefit. I got you now.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I'm caught
Back
up.
the
I'm
blue.
sorry.
That's what we all know.
I remember Black and Blue. Remember then? Hold on. 218. Remember that song?
This is not
No, you don't
Black
know
and Blue. It's Back the Blue.
Anyways, Bluff City Grill with the Glendale Riders. That's the important part. 7 p.m. and $25 includes appetizers and snacks.
There
Flip the Frog
you go.
Friday night. Flip the Frog 7 o'clock. Bakers and Hale. Godfrey Screaming Eagles Jam Band at the Tri-County Rod and Gun Club in Brighton. Also, looks like Flipiside at the Refinery Bar. That's a a debut, 8 o'clock. And you mentioned that Pure Prairie League will be back at the Wildey Theater on Friday night. Here's kin to Fragile Porcelain Mice. It's Peter Porcelain and the... I don't think there's any relation there, Steve. But they're probably inspired by Fragile Porcelain Mice.
Cousin of Porcelain Mice, Peter Porcelain.
You remember that band FPM that was in the Illuminati, dude? We should be called Porcelain. That'll get us signed.
They're PPAS.
What?
Peter Porcelain and the American
I have
Standard.
no idea. Oh, okay. I thought you were cursing.
PP is Peter Porcelain and the American Standard. AS, PPAS. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they are. I do know is they're at the Moose on Friday
Water
evening. Very
Buffalo
sorry
Club.
to them. Be
Right.
7 p.m. You can check them out at the Moose. Then the Poor Dirty Astronauts will be at Reese's Brewery in Edwardsville Saturday evening, going until 9 p.m. We got the Double Wide Duo 6 p.m. at the Cabin at Judy Creek in Glen Carbon, and then the South Side Bluesy Boys are going from 8 until midnight at Tegan's Pub House down in Granite City. Man, back for more Blackie Starks Down and Dirty. They used to just be Down and Dirty, but now it's Blackie Starks Down and Dirty.
Good idea.
They are also going down in Granite City at Patrick's until 1:30 a.m. on Saturday.
Strings and Keys, 7 o'clock at the Elks in Granite City. Scott and Michelle Acoustic, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Eagles in Granite City. I think we covered all the clubs in Granite.
They got a lot popping, and I predict more coming.
Moose,
more
elk, eagles, teepees. Anyways, Cherry Bomb. Right. Cherry Bomb, 8:30 at Deutz Village Inn in Pontoon Beach. That'll be a good time. Of course, the open mic going on with Steve Mellis on Friday nights up at the Hog Pit, and Dave Horton in Highland on Friday at 8 o'clock. Meatwood Flack, 8 to 11 at the Copper Fire in Belleville, and the Bearded Bandits. That's Mr. Nate Sickmeyer. 8 p.m. to midnight, 1428 Tap House in Belleville. And Mike Judy's at it again. He presents Eric Bellinger and Sammy. Tickets range from $30 to $150. That's a VIP.
That's a big range right there.
It is. And then 7 o'clock at the Red Flag for that in STL. And Mr. Mike Judy out of Bethalto, Illinois, and bringing all kinds of acts around the St. Louis area.
Yeah, he's a busy man. He's keeping it going, so there you go. Saturday night,
yes,
March 26th, we got Dunn, Floyd, and Fritz going on at Chez, Marilyn. We have the Bearded Bandits going 2 to 6 p.m. and then Jake and the Truckers 11:30 to 7:30 at Fast Eddie's Bon Air. Now here's one that I would like to see if I can get out to see it. The Saturn Cats reunion. I'd like to see most of these, but the Saturn Cats reunion with guest Fireside. But the Saturn Cats were big back in the Granny's Rocker day. They were a band that played down there.
Yeah, didn't the guy set his hair on fire or something?
That was Michael Jackson in a Pepsi commercial.
No, that would happen to the Saturn Cats down at Granny's Rocker.
It did. But they are
That's
having
a $5 cover for that, just to
and that is at Third Shoot in Alton, starting at 9 p.m. on Saturday evening.
Before you go to Godfrey, I want to back up and mention the pianos going on at Ragin Cajun.
Oh, yeah.
And I also want to mention that the conservatory will be closed to the public for a private event on Saturday night. So if you usually head by the conservatory, and they mentioned, we'll do this for you. If you want to have an event, we'll close down the bar and you can rent it out. So
wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, something to do if you're planning an event.
Absolutely.
Jake Weber and Lonesome Drifters back at it, 7 o'clock at Baker's and Hale and Godfrey. Jake taking some time off and now back. It's good to see. Sit Down and Get Down, 7 o'clock at Clifton Terrace Inn in Godfrey. Scream Eagles Jam Band at Locke's Brick House in Bethalto on Saturday, and Leadfoot, 9 o'clock at the Refinery Bar, playing to 1 a.m. in Wood River. Colossal Wreck, 8 o'clock at Martin's Tunes and Eats in Wood River. That'd be a good night for me down in Wood River, I think.
Yeah.
I like those two bands. DJ Block, 10 o'clock at the Franchise in Wood River. The Retro Nerds. I'd like to see them, too. 9 o'clock at the Pump House in Wood River.
Yeah.
The Retro Nerds is like an 80s. They dress like the Nerds. Remember the movie?
Yeah. Revenge of the Nerds.
They play like 80s music.
Nice. That's a lot going on in Wood River.
They're
pumping it up there, so good
old
them.
Wood River on Saturday.
Down in Grafton, we've got the Grafton Open 9-hole putt-putt bar crawl. That starts at 11 a.m., but the band Tanglefoot will be going from 7 until 11 p.m. at the Hog Pit there.
So several bars getting together, apparently 9. And I guess they got some kind of putt-putt where you bounce around. That's interesting.
Nice, yeah.
Double wide duo at 2 p.m. at Grafton Pub. Ivis John's Band 3 to 7 at Grafton Minor, and we're seeing more and more Grafton open up with the warm weather. How about these guys? You familiar with that Wildey show?
So, right off the bat, I am not familiar with this one. Right off the bat, though, I read the name The Blood Brothers, and that was the original name of Mama's Pride. Mm-hmm. Pat Liston came up with the name Mama's Pride on the way out to L.A. to do the recording, I believe. So, but before that, they were called The Blood Brothers.
Okay.
So, I don't know who this who we got here. The Blood Brothers. This is Mike Zito, and Albert Castiglia. There you go. Castiglia.
Castiglia?
How about that? Okay. I'm not sure who are they. I'm
not really sure. I didn't have time to research.
I was hoping you were going to educate me on that one. So there you go. All right. Well, they are happening at the Wildey Theater. The Blood Brothers, 7:30 p.m. at the Wildey Theater on Saturday night. Then we've got the Hangovers at 9 p.m. at the Back Bar in Edwardsville. Scott Marlin, 6 to 9 at Big Daddy's. Then who else we got in Edwardsville? Looks like that's about it. Mm-hmm. However, Lanny and Julie are right down the road at Udley's Barbecue in Glen Carbon. Mm-hmm. That's a 1 p.m. show, so that's early, man. Get out there for lunch.
Sweet Bottom Band, 6 o'clock, the Cabin at Judy Creek and Glen Carbon. And the auditions for All Shook Up going on down in Granite City on Saturday. And if you want to audition for the next show at Al Fresco's Art Center, it's called All Shook Up, and you need to prepare 32 measures. You know how to prepare measures, right, Big Ben?
Absolutely. I got a measuring cup.
That's good. Of your favorite non-Elvis 50 or 60 song, which I'm surprised because it's called All Shook Up.
Well, they don't want everybody coming in doing All Shook Up, so
apparently they don't.
They're like, everybody's going to come in and sing the same song. Let's just call
also be prepared for a small dance audition. That's why I'm not going. 10 a.m.
That's what's calling me is the small dance audition.
They'll have another one on Monday night. If
I'm
you can't
very small already. I just need to learn how to dance now.
Right.
So, also we've got
to spend more time on your music and less time on your dance moves.
The future of music depends on you.
Frank Zappa quote from the movie Head.
By the Monkees.
By the Monkees.
It's a Monkees movie. Blackie Stark's Down and Dirty's 9:30 to 1:30 a.m. at Patrick's in Granite City. Tyler Hammond, 8:30 at Tegan's Pub in Granite City on Saturday. And then Cherry Bomb.
Celebrating.
Kelly and Sherry's B-Day. That is 8:30 p.m. until 12:30 a.m. at Deutz Village Inn on Saturday evening.
We don't know who those people are, but if they have a birthday and they put it on the promo, we like to pass that along.
There you go.
Steve Kern, 3 to 7 at the Prairie Inn in Dorsey. The Dead Roses, 6 to 10 at Wild Pickens Winery in Chesterfield. The FCHS Dinner Auction, 5 o'clock, with Shotgun Creek, 7 to 11 at the St. Clair County Event Center in Belleville, going on Saturday night. And here's Mobley National Act coming through town with Jesus Christ Supercar and Various Blonde, 7 o'clock at the Alpha Brewery in St. Louis. Yeah.
And then Mike Judy doing it again. It is Blacktop Mojo. That is at Red Flag, starting 7:30 on Saturday, and it is $18 to get into that one.
You're way better at that cough button this week. Good job. I knew that was coming.
So
Sunday, and then we're on our way to Cottage Hills.
Yeah, for the Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance in moments. But first, we're going to let you know the Bearded Bandits will be 1 to 5, and then Cross the Line 6 to 10 at Fast Eddie's Bon Air this Sunday. We've got an open mic night, which is the Shell Shack Band, 3 to 7 at Martin's Tunes and Eats in Wood River. And the band, or not the band, but the people we're getting ready to talk to here, and you're going to find out all about them momentarily. The Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance, their weekly show is 3:30-ish, and that is at 127 West MacArthur in Cottage Hills. That's $10 for adults, $5 for the children to get in, and that's a good time. So you're going to find out all about them momentarily.
From the backyard where they built their own rings to a building now where they put on a weekly show.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool.
Also,
Common time, 1 to 5 at Grafton Winery on Sunday. Open mic with Butch Moore, as always, at the Stagger Inn again in Edwardsville from 6 to 10. Lanny and Julie at Big Daddy's on Sunday. Scott Marlin right there across the way at Mike Shannon's Grill from 4 to 7. If they could collide, you'd have Meatwood Plaque. Maybe do that somewhere in between. Julie Gray, 2 o'clock at the Cabin at Judy Creek and Glen Carbon. And they got karaoke at Deutz, drunk karaoke, on Sunday night.
The only way to do it.
City Heat, 2 to 6 at Wild Pickens in Chesterfield. Here's a fun one right here. Pop's Local Showcase with The Doubted, Unknown in Sailing, Precarious Situation, and Sacrifice the Sacred. $6 in advance, $8 day of the show. That's at Pops in Chez.
Awesome.
Pretty cool they're doing that.
Absolutely.
Dave Horton, 3 to 6, Old Time Pub in Highland. Little known fact, 2 o'clock, 1428 Tap House in Swansea. You see, Swansea?
Swansea.
Mike Judy presents on Sunday, Belmont's Super American Youth Fountain and 93 Feet of Smoke. It's an $18 ticket at Red Flag in St. Louis.
There you go. That is a lot going on between Thursday and Sunday.
They had the Circle Jerks.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. So there you go. Always the pivot, man. That's what I say. All right. So, hey, we're going to get into the Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance interview here. These guys are very interesting. So we interviewed them last week, and they're going to let you know how they went from a backyard thing to having their own building and a weekly show. So here you go.
Riverbend Talent brought to you by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis and by the Halpin Music Company, Matt Van Voorhis with Macias Insurance Company, Pigpen, and we're back to the wrestlers, and this one's near and dear to my heart because it comes out of Cottage Hills where I grew up, and these guys started in a backyard, literally, and now have their own building and a weekly show on YouTube.
So tell us who we're talking to.
We're talking about the Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance.
All right. Now,
And
we brought them up before with other wrestling, wrestling.
P.T. Beckham talked about him recently on a. He wrestled with them for a while.
Yeah, he was just on about a month ago with us.
Yeah, he's back with us now.
And we have Jon Stauder.
The
Who,
Godfather.
if you've ever been to the DMV, you recognize him. People don't go there, do they?
No.
And we have his son, Christian.
Hello.
Right? Who's also known as Chris Jericho.
Exodus.
Right? Okay, I got it messed up.
That's all right.
Right? And then you're known as Godfather.
The Godfather.
On the show.
And it wasn't. I did not pick that name.
Right?
It was given to me by the 5 kids that started the company.
Right.
So.
Well, why we're going this far back, it started because your son wanted to do professional wrestling and kind of was shunned away from it because
It
of his
wasn't big
size.
enough, wasn't strong
Right.
enough. Him and the other 4 guys that I referred to as the founding fathers. The one was, a couple of them were too heavy. One of them wasn't strong enough. You and Jay
was too
Gold, I believe,
small.
were too small. So, but that's, they kind of trained him up, and then, well, we can't use you. So they didn't have any issue taking their money,
That was more than once, too.
but they, then they didn't put them on the show. So they said, we're just going to start our own company. So actually, you should be telling that. I wasn't around back then.
Yeah, it was a long time ago now. It feels like a long time ago. But yeah, we started training, kind of learned the basics of how to not die wrestling. And then every time we'd get offered an opportunity, it seemed like the rug was dragged out from underneath us. So myself and Lucas, Josh, Dylan, and Jake, we all threw money together and wanted to start our own company, and we didn't really know where to start, so we just literally started body slamming each other in my front yard on camera, and it's been going ever since.
Yeah.
Going
Now,
ever
was
since.
this like early days of YouTube? Because there was a lot of backyard wrestling for a while, and was that an inspiration for this, or was you just kind of going with it and it was happening all at the same time?
So it actually started because of these 2 companies I used to watch. I still watch them if they post stuff, and it's called Canadian Hardcore, or Crazy Hardcore Wrestling, and then Extreme Showdown Wrestling. Crazy Hardcore Wrestling's in Canada, and then Extreme Showdown Wrestling is in Texas. And I just saw a bunch of guys that were smaller, little overweight, whatever, wrestling, and they had like an entrance and theme songs and characters and like all this cool stuff. And so I thought, like, well, if they can do it, they don't even and the thing was, back then, a lot of their stuff was not really produced. It was just like a hard camera angle, and that was it. And so I thought, well, there's 5 of us, which means there could be minimum 2 cameras. We could have a referee and 2 wrestlers. That'd be cool. So then we just started figuring it out, man.
Yeah, and I remember some of that early backyard stuff, and man, you talk about some nutty stunts. Jumping off roofs, different things like that. Is this the same companies you're talking about that you were seeing?
Yeah, they are all pretty crazy still. ESW still pretty crazy. They have a ring now too. CHW unfortunately no longer exists, but yeah, it was all just. The thing about backyard wrestling is really open. So if you want to climb a fence and then, I don't know, elbow drop a guy off a tree or throw somebody into like a wheelbarrow and wheel him down a hill, you can just kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts. There's not really any.
No rules.
I mean, I watched this guy that used to wrestle named Matt Revelation get set on fire in my brother's backyard, and we lit a table on fire, and he went through it with no shirt, and we thought, oh yeah, like when he hits it, it'll go. No, it didn't go out. He just got 3rd-degree burns, scarred the rest of his life.
And that's what I remember about that style of wrestling is that they were taking it to a new level.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because extreme wrestling was out at that time, but they were taking even more extreme than extreme because they're using elements that are in everybody's yard.
I think the craziest one was we wrestled in a, like, almost like a tornado type atmosphere where the wind's blowing and we're under a canopy thing down at Van Prater Park.
Oh,
And it was like blowing the rain.
Yeah, I forgot about that
into and guys were literally going out, getting on top of this pavilion thing and throwing each other off of it in the middle of like a hurricane tornado type thunderstorm. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so John Boy jumped off the roof of
Yeah, he jumped like 20 foot.
up on the garage and jumped off the garage onto Iorio, who was laying on a table.
And the plywood that he was on was not even as big as this table like that we're sitting at. It was small. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was...
And then
I remember I was holding
the
that camera up,
jungle
and I
gym?
kept going, somebody's going to die. Someone's not going to make it.
You remember, like, we would climb the slide ladder thing at Lucas's?
Oh,
and
yeah,
just
had that big
jump.
slide, yeah,
It was
jump
like
off the
easily
top of the
15
slide.
foot. You just front flip and hope everybody catches you. Sometimes you don't get caught. You hit the ground. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah.
Ow.
You see 15-year-old me be like, yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
only 25, but even now I'm just like, my back just doesn't. Shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You live and you learn.
Yeah.
You know?
But I mean, you're literally building your own ring when you guys start, right? So
No, we didn't even have a ring.
you didn't. You just did it
back
on.
in 2013 when you got started
Correct.
and you needed a ring.
So
built one.
we started on the ground, and then we fast forward just a little bit because we used a trampoline and the ground, and we would like dive off the trampoline onto the ground. We went out. We bought. Okay, it's been years time. I'll just say it. So we stole a bunch of loading dock pallets from dumpsters and stuff, and we would
We'd
take
go around to local carpet stores and steal
yeah,
padding from them.
carpet padding, anything in the dumpster.
Anything to
I mean,
make
hey.
it softer for these kids not to
so what we would do is we'd take the pallets, make a square, then we would put mattresses down, and then we would put like either plywood or just the carpet padding, and then we would take a tarp and that was a ring.
That was our ring.
Yeah.
No ropes, no nothing.
That's how it
Just a-
started. No
just a
ropes.
Base to get slammed on.
Yeah, and so that's the first
It
one.
worked.
And then
Something had a little give though. So
Yeah,
it's not as
absolutely.
solid as ground.
Beat
neck
the ground.
bumps were very much encouraged on that one. So yeah, it had some give, but it wasn't enough where like you would sink into it. It would look kind of visually like a ring, but looking back on it now, that thing was haggard. But yeah, it was a
But it
death
got you
trap.
through.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, it got us through like at least 2 years before we went to Sideways. Which that's when we built the wooden ring and all that. Oh man.
Now, was this a ring that you took to other places, the first ring, or is that just for
We
the
only
backyard?
we just
Yeah.
wrestled in one backyard
Yeah.
back then. We didn't go anywhere.
Lucas's
Okay.
backyard, and that was it.
We had no fans. Our brother John Holt Yo is the reason that we were even on YouTube, because he had the idea like, hey, you guys are doing all this, why don't we film it? And so he would sit outside and film this. It would be like 10 degrees out, and this man would sit there while he was going through chemo treatments because he had brain cancer, and he's filming all this. And so when he passed, we like, let's do a big show and dedicate it after him. It's still going now. So so shout out to John Holio, man, because without him, we wouldn't even be on YouTube or anything.
All right, so a good father supports his kid. Now,
Oh,
you
man.
grew up as a golfer, not a contact sport at
The
all.
opposite of wrestling.
Right. And a really good golfer, right? State champion?
Yeah, no, no,
you,
not quite that
you were
far.
pretty good, though.
I held my own.
You were known for your golfing, yeah. So here comes the son saying, hey, Dad, I want to break my neck for a living. What'd you go through?
I really wasn't surprised with that. And I mean, in reality, like the day he shot out of his mom, that's all he ever talked about
Wow.
was being a wrestler. So when he said, we're down at Sideways Comics, we got a place we're going to try and wrestle out of. I think watched a video or something or other. They watched a video and he's like, we've discovered we can build a ring out of wood. Well,
Don't do that.
yeah, it's not advised. My grandparents had just recently passed away. After that, I came into a pretty decent inheritance. So I said, why? I got some extra cash I can throw. Let's go out to Lowe's or Home Depot. We'll find out what we can get. It was $1,500, I think, in wood, and we started putting it together, and yeah, it was an ultimate failure.
That's the dumbest
So
thing
I
we've
was
ever done.
$1,500 in debt, and we had a whole bunch of wood that we couldn't do nothing with.
That That led to the ring is irrelevant
but
fight.
then we got kicked out. Yeah, we were down at Sideways Comics, and the guy that was helping us out then, I guess there was some things that weren't really above board, so to speak, in his business. And the fire marshal and some police came in there and were, what are you guys doing in here with this wrestling ring? What are you guys trying to do? And they said, well, you got to do this. You got to build a bathroom. You got to take this wall out. You got to do this, that, and the other. So I get down there that night, and my son starts telling me, look, the fire marshal came by here today. We have to do all this work to the building. But, with this ring, if we would just do this. And after about the second time, he said, well, with this ring. I said, the ring is irrelevant right now. If we don't get the building, I'm down the middle of Ferguson, right in the middle of Ferguson Street yelling, the ring is irrelevant. Because the ring actually it was irrelevant at that juncture.
Go 15-year-old
If we didn't meet all these other requirements, the ring didn't matter.
Yeah.
So trying to get them kids to wrap their head around that was a chore for a bit.
Yeah.
But we did lose. We kind of got screwed over there in reality. I'm not going to drop no names on that. But
Lost a lot of
he
money
knows who
every
he
show.
is if he's listening to this by chance. But really kind of got screwed over there. And then I think that's when you took that base kind of back to Lucas's. And that's when the Chicago kids came down to CWA.
CWA, Chicago Wrestling Alliance.
I don't think they wrestle no more.
No, we had General Joe and then Greg Knight.
Those guys came down and wrestled in a
And
thunderstorm.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember.
That's what they said. We drove from Chicago. We're not driving back home.
I know his real
big
name.
Rainstorm in the backyard on that base.
I know his
It was
real name is
pouring down
David
rain.
Perkins, but I can't remember what he
Yeah.
used to wrestle as. But those three
Yeah.
guys came down. And it was literally a thunderstorm.
And that's what they
And we
said. We
wrestled
drove
in
too
it.
far to get here.
So we drove 4 hours. We're not going to just call it here. So
Right.
we literally wrestled in a thunderstorm on that base. That base hurt too.
Yeah.
Like the thing about the base versus like that first ring I was telling you guys about is like the first ring had like padding. This base thing that we built was like 2x4s, right, to make the 16-foot square, and then the loading dock pallets, plywood, carpet padding.
Wow.
Not as much give.
No, none.
Not as
None.
much give.
You would hit it. You
That's
would hit it. and
unforgiving.
bounce.
Yeah.
That is unforgiving. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
They might have done better.
It
than
shortened my
back to
life. It shortened my life. I'm telling
I'm
you.
sure it did.
So I want to get back into this thunderstorm story because you told it to us prior to us starting the recording, and so you guys are planning a match. You got people coming from Chicago, and it just happens to be a storm that day.
It's been
And-
beautiful all day.
And it was whether do we continue the show or not continue the show. It's about 50-50 split, probably, right?
No, it was probably about 98%. Me
Ah.
and my girlfriend were the only two saying we shouldn't do this.
Everyone else was gung ho. Let's do
But
it.
they're like, we drove 5 hours to get here.
Was that Van Prater Park?
No, that
No,
was
no,
at
That was at Lucas.
that was in Lucas's backyard.
Oh, okay.
The one I was talking about
4
earlier.
or 5 storms.
Yeah, I know.
We do got a bunch of
5. That's lowballing,
When you
man.
wrestle outside, you were definitely at the mercy of the weather when you're wrestling outside. The one I was talking about prior to us coming on air was when we were still wrestling in Lucas's backyard, and we decided that's when we begun to, in a sense, branch out. We got a hold of the city of Alton, I believe it was, and asked what it would take to rent the tennis courts out at Gordon Moore.
Oh, yeah.
So we could wrestle in the backyard, and then we'd have a big event out at Gordon Moore. And
Free show,
that
too.
was the one where we got out there and got the ring all ready, and we're getting ready to start, and it just started downpouring. And I'm like, it was lightning like crazy. I'm like, we need to call this show. And the fans are yelling and screaming. They're slamming each other in the ring, and these huge puddles of water just splash
Man.
up. You can't even see the bodies when the water would splash up. And I'm filming, and I'd be like, look at that one. I would show these big lightning bolts in the sky. I'm like, somebody's going to die. So, but nobody died.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we got quite a few wrestling in the rain stories in reality.
Snow, ice, the whole nine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then we finally got into, during the winter, Lucas, his mom and them cleaned out the garage.
Yep.
So, we're jumping ahead though.
A little
We
bit.
had the ring.
Yeah.
So we got to back
So-
up.
Yeah. Back up.
So the Sideways Comics thing happened with the fire marshals, and
Yeah,
of
that
course,
was lovely.
15-year-old me did not give one single care about this wall, and all I cared about was this wrestling show. 'Cause I had to wrestle, you know.
Yeah.
And so then we left there, went back to Lucas's house. with that square wooden base thing. Because we bought posts and rope, but I think it was VDP hit the ropes once and it just whoosh, all broke and just it did. VDP's like 300 pounds. It was 300
plus. He's
a big dude. So when I'd hit it, of course, nothing would happen because I'm 150 pounds. He hits it and it just whoosh. So that happened. That's why it was a base and it wasn't a ring because there was no ropes on that either. So then John Holt-Yo passed from brain cancer, unfortunately, and that August, before he passed, we had went on Monster Rings and Cages and found a 12-foot wrestling ring. So myself, Lucas, VDP, Dylan, Josh had all right, we're all going to throw money in on this, but the only one at the time that had a job that was responsible was Lucas. So Elride came $1,900 at the time. It's more expensive now. $1,900 at the time came out of pocket, bought the ring, and then we were online and realized, well, they're going to charge us like a couple extra $100 to ship it. That sucks. And then I called my dad and was like, hey, you want to go to Kentucky?
Was it TJ got a trailer?
Yep.
We got a trailer. Yeah, we just need somebody to pull it down to Kentucky.
And back in one day.
Yeah.
The one day part was
because we had to get down and get the trailer. We had to get back with it, put it together.
And the next day was John Holt-Yo.
John Holt-Yo won, the very first John Holt-Yo. So
and
no pressure. No.
And the thing was, it's not like we could have went the day after we ordered it either. They had to like custom build this thing.
Right.
It's like, so they told us like I can't remember it was to the last weekend of September in 2014. I think it was like the 26th and 27th was the show. They were like, yeah, it'll be ready on the 25th. Cool. Cool.
So they had 5 of you.
It was me, Lucas, TJ,
Darius.
VDP, Darius, and for some reason, Jake Gold always in my head has went with us.
I know he went in there.
But yeah, we all stayed at my dad's house, and around 1 o'clock, everybody else went to sleep. I couldn't. I was up and down, up and down, up and down. I was going outside, and at the time, I smoked cigarettes, so I would go outside. I chain smoked like an entire pack of cigarettes, just so excited to go get this ring, not realizing how far. Was it 6.5 hours one way or something?
We left at 4 in the morning. I got up at 4 in the morning. We left at 4:30.
Yeah, and then we got back at it was like 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon.
And then we had to put the ring together, which
we didn't know how to do.
That was fun because we never built a wrestling ring.
We had to YouTube it and put it on like a tablet thing to watch.
So
that was driving there was super fun. That was one of the best experiences of my life.
But yeah, that was. We still get on Facebook. The memories still pop up. The one VDP, the one he's talking about, that broke the ring.
Yep.
The old ring. His song was "Why You Gotta Be So Cruel."
Rude.
Why you gotta be so rude? If you remember that song. Driving down to Kentucky and back, I don't know how many on the day that we drove down there and back. On my memory, that song must have played 65 times.
Oh, absolutely.
And every time that song would go, the kids would be bouncing all around, and I'm driving the truck, and it's literally like I'm shaking the whole truck as I'm driving down the road. I'm like, oh my God!
Didn't I kick the truck into neutral at one point?
I think a couple different times Christian would turn around, his knee would hit it and knock it up into neutral. I'm like, you've got to sit still.
They put me in the middle. They put the kid with ADHD in the middle seat.
He was the tiniest of all the kids in the car.
I was also the wildest kid in the car.
I don't know how many times we'd be too long, you'd knock it into neutral. I'm like,
who's not big enough to break the ropes? That's who's sitting in the middle.
Absolutely.
So you get your first real ring, and now it's a little more forgiving when you get slammed.
Like a cloud.
Yeah.
Compared to, the concrete and... Yeah.
So were you still in the garage, or did you have a
We
building?
were outside at that point.
We were still outside at that.
And then that winter, it was really cold out, and we had started the YouTube way before this, but this is when, like, in backyard wrestling, man, I'm going to make so many pro wrestlers mad. In backyard wrestling, once you get, like, a ring and stuff, the other backyard companies start watching. Because you're kind of like, there's levels of backyard wrestling, right?
So they got some money. How's that happen?
How did they do that? How did they pull that off?
Exactly.
Yeah, so like, you start on the ground and people are like, you could be having, the best match in the world, but because you're not on a base or in a ring, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So you progressively go up and up. Well, at that point, we started getting traction where our videos started getting close to 1,000 views, which is not, in the grand scheme, YouTube's not great, but for backyard wrestling, it's not horrible. So we're like, man, okay, so we can't stop just because it's icing and snowing outside. How do we avoid this, right? So, because a lot of backyard wrestling companies are out in like California, Florida, South Carolina, where it's like warm all year round, versus here where, you know, it's warm for 4 or 5 months, then cold for the rest of the year. So Lucas's mom and dad are no longer together, and there was this car, and this old car in this garage, and it was just the frame of the car. And his mom was like, well, if we can get this thing out of here, you guys could just put the ring in the garage. Light bulb went off in my head. Why don't we just run a show out of the garage? We could build a little entrance, and this garage is not much bigger than this room we're sitting in.
This room we're probably sitting in.
Yeah,
we put our 12-foot ring in it. It was like edge to edge.
You couldn't dive out of the ring, because if you reached out of the
I would be standing like this. This would be the ring, and I'd be holding the camera, and he slams him, and they're talking this far.
We had a work light up on a shelf for like a ring light too, so that way we could wrestle at nighttime.
And then there was the beam that ran through the garage.
Yeah, it was right
if you
through
went
the
off the
middle.
top rope, you had to watch the beam because you'd knock yourself out.
I've done it. I did it a few times.
A bunch of people hit their head off that and other body parts.
And so we got rid of that car, moved in there, and the first few tapings in there were rough.
Yeah.
Oh, it was rough. It was like trying to, you know, you got all these guys who are jumping off the top rope and stuff, and now you've got to completely reform, as a wrestler, your entire style. You can't do stalling suplexes because of the roof. You can't jump off. You can't even climb to the top rope. Even me, I stand at 5'5". I couldn't stand on the top rope.
Suddenly, that's an advantage to be small.
Yeah,
In that garage, it was.
yeah. The quicker, faster guys had the better matches because we are used to being vertically challenged. So we move in there, and it was rough, man. The first few tapings, there was even a couple matches where I was like, "We're not posting that," and I would cut it out of the show because it was so bad. And so then we finally kind of found our footing. We had this work light idea, and the work light would get too hot and turn itself off sometimes. Have to redo everything because that turned off. But yeah, we did that, and then we built like this curtain stand thing for the front door of the garage so you could walk through that. It was not a big entryway. Tag teams would have to come out one at a time. You couldn't, so narrow you couldn't. And it was rough, man, but it was really like, I always tell the kids now, but when you're in wrestling and you've been in the game, you know, almost 10 years, people who are just coming in, even if they're older, and it's like they're kids, because they're just, you know, kids in a candy store. But I tell the kids now, like, they're lucky, because they come in now to come to our place to train with Jeremy Lightfoot and others, and it's like they've got this gorgeous facility, 16-foot ring. They weren't in this garage, where it wasn't even a garage, if you remember, it was a greenhouse. So it was, if it's 15 degrees outside, it's -5 degrees in this thing, and we at the time we couldn't afford $5 for kerosene.
Kerosene burner in the corner. That was our heat.
Yeah, and that thing sucked.
And then we'd like to have to pull together $5. How much money you got? I got 50 cents. Anybody got?
I got
$5? I mean, we can come up with $5 for kerosene.
It was really brutal. It was cold.
And then and then of course the kids, y'all may use the word kids as well. You know, Christian and his buddies would dream. We want to have our own building. We can't even afford kerosene. How are we going to buy a building?
That was brutal. And it was super rough in there, but like I tell the kids now, I just wish that we could do one more show in that garage. All these years later. So that way, like, all the people now that watch our show and all the people now that wrestle on the show, that because a lot of I was crying on the phone not long ago to my dad, literally crying. Because most of the people that were in that era are either dead or they're not. They don't wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
There's only like 5 of us. It's still
roster,
out of 40-something guys, and it's if we could just go back to this one setting one time, I think everyone would appreciate what we are a lot more. Yeah. And I think that gets lost in the shuffle, especially with the new guys, because they get so used to just like, oh, this is the way things are, but they don't remember the way things were because they weren't there. So. Yeah, man, I love that garage.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And you know, we interview all kinds of different people, and the same thing happens with bands, right? You know, they start off in a garage, no heat. Yeah. You know, so it totally resonates with us what you guys have been through to get to the point you're at, and let's talk about that now. You guys got your own building.
Yeah.
And that's in Cottage Hills, there behind Slimmers, right?
Yep, 127 West.
How'd you guys get that? What went down there?
I went for a walk during COVID, during the lockdown. I have really bad ADHD. I like to move. I don't like to sit still very often. So it was one of those, I'm in the house. My soon-to-be wife, we're getting married in October. She wasn't with me, or she was like dating me, but she was quarantined at her house with her family. I was quarantined with my grandma. So, and her family were super worried about COVID, as was I, because, I live with a 75-year-old. So we're both worried about COVID, and we hadn't seen each other, and so I was kind of going through a little episode of anxiety. So when I get anxiety, one of the things I like to do is I like to walk. I just like to walk and go outside, because you get to see things, and it helps,
Fresh air help.
Yeah, big time.
Yes.
So I went out for a walk, and I found this other building that was not far from the building we're at now. And I was just looking at it, and I was kind of like peeking, because it said for sale, and I was like peeking through the windows, just trying to see if there's like a lay of the land. It's like an old mechanic shop thing. And I'm like, well, if there's a bathroom in there, and like maybe we could separate it from the locker room, the garage could be the arena. And I'm like thinking small. And this this dude is huge, comes like walking over from this house, and he's just like, he's on one. He's like, what are you doing? I guess he thought maybe I was like trying to steal something. So I began to explain to him that I run a wrestling company. And he's like not buying it. And so I put on my phone, I pull up our Facebook, and I'm showing it to him, and he goes, oh, okay. And then he's like, my son watches that on Facebook all the time. And oh, thank God. Okay, cool. So I'm like, well, who owns this building? Do you know? He's like, yeah, my landlord who I rent my house from does. So he gives me and I'll let him stay anonymous, but I give him a call. I leave him a voicemail. Hey, I'm so-and-so. I run, CHWA, da-da-da-da-da. Give me a call. Like the next day at like 1 o'clock in the morning, this guy texts me. Yeah, he's like, hey, on a camp. He might have texted me at like 6 in the afternoon, but he was out on a camping trip, at like some way out. He's like, I'm 7 hours away on this camping trip. Call you Monday when I get home. This is like a Friday. So call you Monday when I get home. Comes through at 1 in the morning. So I reply with awesome. The next thing he sends is pictures of this place, and I had Dilly, Lucas, and Cody at my house. And my jaw dropped, and I just turned my phone around and showed all of my, the people that were there, and they were like, dude, and we just like went in, talked to the landlord of the building, talked money, talked to lease, signed it, and here we are.
Yeah.
So it's all just because I went on a walk, man. It's amazing building. It's immaculate, man. I've wrestled in a lot of places. To me, that building is the best. It's got nice floors. It's everything. The locker room's big enough for everybody because there's 2 parts of it now. Really, my only complaint is I'm always afraid something's going to go wrong on those wrestling mats. That's really my only complaint. Everything else is great.
Yeah, because you've got a ring and then wrestling mats outside of the ring, right? From what I remember, because they use that facility for other things, right? Did you say that was Shinobi Fitness? Yeah,
well, so right now it's the Bulls wrestling facility, but to my understanding, they're moving to a different place. So Shinobi Fitness, which is a Ninja Warrior gym, shout out to them, by the way, they're awesome. They're taking over that, and they're going to use it as like I think a martial arts dojo.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like actual wrestling mats outside the ring. So what we do is we put our like ring post down on our wrestling mats with puzzle pieces, then on top of that. So that way we try to keep that floor. We've had a few accidents, but not from the ring. It's been like a chair punctures through it or something goofy. It's never been the ring.
Yeah. So that's cool, man. So they're kind of working with you guys to allow you to do this then, huh?
Yeah, so I don't want to out the landlord because he owns a lot of property, and I don't want anybody to bother him. But this landlord's known me since I was a kid. So I went to the alternative school in Bethalto because I got expelled and whatnot, and he was one of like the big like donators at this school. Like he was a really big influence on this school, and so he has known me a long time. So when I went to him with this idea, he loved it. He loved it, and like my whole thing has always been like, Cottage Hills has nothing. Right. When you look at Cottage, it literally has nothing. It has a vape shop, a gas station, a market, and
fire station.
Yeah, it's got a fire station, and it's got like 3 bars, or whatever. There's nothing for kids.
Right.
Yeah. It's got nothing for kids to do. It has nothing. Like when I was a teenager, man, like there was nothing to do. Like I had to walk 4 miles to a skate park in Bethalto because I had no skate park. People want to talk about like the crime rate in Cottage Hills, and they talk about like all this stuff, and it's like there's nothing productive, especially for youth, like the kids. Like I want a safe spot for the alternative kids, because like if you're a really good athlete, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you go to the Bethalto school, you're a good athlete, you're fine. If you're really, really, really good at something, you're good. But for like a kid like me, I didn't care about football. I didn't care about, I played baseball, but I didn't really care about it. I didn't care about anything like that. I care about 2 things: skateboarding and pro wrestling, and there was no pro wrestling around me, and the skate park was a couple miles away. So a place like CHWA, oh man, dude, I would have ate it a lot. I probably would have gotten a lot less trouble if I had a place like that to go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to provide that to the youth, and
Awesome.
Yeah, the landlord really got behind that idea.
That is cool. That's exactly where we're at with this show. You know, we've all done our time, and now we want to get back and let, you know, younger bands come in and promote themselves, because we know how hard it is to find someone to back you and support what you're doing. I guarantee you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. You walk up to a place and they're like, "What? You want to wrestle in my auditorium?" What are you talking about, you know?
The amount of buildings that have told us no. Because
we have tried to go a lot of places.
And you got to think too, like, if say all 5 of us run a wrestling, or all 4 of us run a wrestling company, right? And his wrestling company went to his building, and his wrestling company lit the ceiling on fire, and then you go to him and, hey, I want to run. Well, he remembers him, and he thinks you two are the same, and no way, no wrestling here. So like,
Same with bands,
yeah. So it's rough, man. It's rough to try, especially when you're a startup company and people already don't like, in the business already don't like you. Like, that was a big thing. We'd find a place to wrestle. A lot of other wrestlers or companies would call that venue when they'd see our flyer, hey, you're booking these guys and they're dangerous, they stupid stuff, and then we get kicked out, and we haven't even done the show there yet, and it was just
Well, I think's cool about all of this is that, you know, the tenacious attitude that you've taken, and you know, not let people tell you no, and keep driving to do it. And that's what's exciting to me, to be able to see that whole thing develop and happen. And now I guarantee it's got to feel really good when somebody who's been in the wrestling business for a long time is now coming to Cottage Chills to wrestle, and getting on Facebook and telling the world how cool Cottage Chills Wrestling Alliance is. I'm talking about the Butcher. Okay, I'm talking about Bill Talley.
I will.
Right?
Tell you about the Butcher.
You fought him.
I would. No, hi, Butcher.
Hi, Butcher.
But there's a guy who's been around a long time, and nothing feels better than your peers who you know have had success coming and seeing what you built.
He's not just had success. Butcher's had some failures.
Yeah, he lost to you. That's not very successful.
I'll tell you the most gratifying moment for me, like the most like, having like guys like that come through is like, I can't even believe that like Damian Blade, the MMWA champion, wrestles on my show. I can't even.
Yeah, wrestles our venue.
But like,
it's insane.
There was this fan, man,
and brags about it. On top of that, he thinks you guys are doing amazing, and more people should look at what you're doing. I've seen him say that. It's got to make you feel great.
Oh,
absolutely.
It's gratifying, man. But like, there was this fan. His name's Kenny Ray.
Okay.
And this man came to all our shows, man, with Jill Collins. Rain, shine, sleet, hail, didn't matter.
They were sitting in Gordon Moore when it rained.
Yeah, they were sitting in Gordon Moore when it was pouring down rain, cheering. He passed away in 2019, right? 2019?
Yeah, I think 2019.
And
built Mystical Journeys.
He loved what we did so much that his wife put CHWA for life on this man's headstone.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's like, that's why, like, in that moment when I saw that, I realized, like, you know, people can say whatever they want. These people watching our shit, they do not care. They do not care if wrestler A has boots or shoes on. They do not care if wrestler A is in shape or not. What they care about is the brand.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's just one of those, like, when you have that deep of a connection with the people that pay to watch your show, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always tell people, CHWA's fan base, they almost remind me of like a cult, because they're just so everything CHWA, and it's gotten to a point where they follow us around, and it's I don't know, man. I watch our shows back, and I think they're really good, but these people are just, man, they're the best. Like, I go to other wrestling companies, and they have a lot of fans that go and stuff, but like, they don't have like that bond, you know.
Following.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say our show gets over, and we literally, after a while, have to get on the mic. All right, everybody needs to, because the fans just stay.
Last call.
It's like they're part of our family.
Yeah.
We have the connection that Christian.
That's awesome.
Work here, sleep here, sleep
here.
It's time
But
to
you know,
go.
the show gets over, and they don't. You know, even though the show's been 3 hours, the fans aren't in a big hurry to just get out. You know, they want to mingle around to get pictures, and you know, it's just crazy.
When bands hear that, we know we have to actually work for the first time, because we were just playing before that, but now we got to carry all our stuff home at 2 o'clock.
Oh yeah,
Well, see,
teardown
and that's
sucks.
too. I'm a little bit lucky with that.
Yeah.
But being one
So
of the
you
older
guys gotta-
when the show gets over, they got to tear that ring down.
Yeah,
And that
I was
ring
gonna
done,
say, yeah.
You can't just leave it there all week. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of work goes into getting it up and ready.
You're doing it every Sunday out there.
Every
we put it
Sunday?
up every Saturday. We put the ring together, and then Sunday we have the show and
3:30,
the ring
something
down.
like that
Doors
is-
open at 3. First
Okay.
bell's at 3:30 ish.
Uh-huh.
So
And
what's
if you
going
follow
on?
our shows,
What's
ish,
going on
we're
this
heavy on the
Sunday?
ish.
So what is going on this Sunday? Who can people?
This is a normal TV for our
I was
YouTube.
looking at my phone to see the date. What's the date?
This is a normal TV for our YouTube. We've got pretty big heavyweight title match going on. We've got Damian Blackwell, son of Hall of Famer Izzy Blackwell. He'll be taking on the big bad Russian Equinox for the CHWA championship. And then next Sunday is CHWA Ground Zero. And we've got a lot of stuff planned for that. The CHWA tag titles will be on the line. Bulletproof will take on Bayou Boys, who are the current champions. And then Victoria is scheduled to put her CHWA Women's Championship on the line. We'll see if she actually does it, though, because she's been ducking and running from every
We'll wait and
challenger.
see.
And then we have Damian Blackwell taking on Sean Valiant if Damian's able to retain his championship this Sunday. If not, I guess it'll be Equinox and Sean Valiant. And then we also have the United States Championship. It'll be Logan Simmons versus Harlock Cross. So that'll be a good one. And we have a lot more stuff too. I've heard rumblings that the Buff and Brave will be taking on the New Foundation. I don't think Dragons Guild's doing anything, unfortunately, at this pay-per-view, but that's okay. After my lung thing, I appreciate the rest.
Yeah, yeah. We didn't even get to the fact that you had a lung collapse. You had a few broken ribs, probably from wrestling, but you were refereeing whenever that lung collapsed. And,
Yeah, it was
so, was that before the building?
No, that was right when we
Right
got there,
after,
really.
huh?
We got the building in April. That happened in June.
Yeah.
So-
And kudos to you guys, because what worse time to start a new business than 2020 April, right? And we've talked about that from several bars that we've had on. It's like as soon as they open the bar is exactly when all this stuff happened.
Yeah.
And to be able to go through that, which by this point you guys are like, hey, we got a building, we're doing great, even though no one shows
Well,
up, we're doing
that's
great.
the thing that really sucked is before this building we had Mystical Journeys
Okay.
with Marianne
Yeah, I
Frost.
remember seeing that.
And I'll tell you, that to me, that was the golden period. Like
Yeah.
that is like
I think that's kind of when we started to hit our stride.
we really came into our own. And I'll be honest, if COVID wouldn't have happened, I think we'd still be there. Like the shows, it was cool because the room there was maybe 4 of these rooms put together, smaller environment, but the crowd was so intimate of a setting
top of you, yeah.
that, man, dude, like the walls would sweat. You know, it'd be so hot in the winter. It'd be so hot in there. The walls would sweat, and like the walls were concrete, so guys would just smash into them as hard as they could. And I mean, that is really when CHWA went from being like the backyard kids who don't really know what they're doing already to like all the other companies kind of stopping and going, well, wait a minute, what
Yeah.
are these kids doing here? Because like now there's a buzz.
Oh, definitely.
And like it was really, man, I loved Mystical Journeys, and shout out to Marianne Frost for like letting us tear up that building because we tore that building apart.
Yeah,
but
we
yeah,
were wrestling in my backyard at that time, and that's when she said, well, hey, I talked to my business partner. You guys can come wrestle at our building.
Yeah.
Sweet. That beats being outside.
Yeah.
dude,
Someone
the big
embraced
one.
us.
110 in
Wow.
the summer,
Yeah.
you know, minus 20.
Yeah,
in the
so
winter.
yeah, it's a fabulous story, and now you got your Facebook page where people can find this out. Is that the best place? And then
Yeah.
the YouTube channel, obviously.
Yeah.
Every Thursday you release a video,
Yep.
right?
Every Thursday at 2 o'clock, we premiere Thursday Night Throwdown. Every Sunday, we tape the show. And then if you go to patreon.com and search up Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance, we have a couple of tiers there. The $10 for life tier will get you all the pay-per-views and some exclusive content, interviews, all kinds of fun stuff. So even match cards get released early on there and stuff. So if you want to know kind of what's coming up, there's like a bunch of stuff at all the tiers. We have a $1, a $5, and a $10 tier. Of course, you know, I always recommend the $10 tier. It's not even because I want more money. It's literally because there's so much content and you never miss anything. And the pay-per-view shows are just... To me, they're the best shows, period.
Right.
Like, around here, they are the best shows. Like, the crowd is on fire. All the guys go out there. You're going to get the best wrestling action from the younger wrestlers, even the older wrestlers. It's just, man, it's an environment that if you've not come out to a show or you can't because, you know, you live too far away, man, that Patreon, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's infectious, dude.
So, is there free shows though on YouTube too? They can see, yeah.
Yep, the first 3 shows of the month
weekend
are all free on YouTube.
And then the big pay-per-views where you hope to make something for.
Yeah,
one, right?
yep.
You got to be there or go to Patreon to get.
Yep, you have to be there. We even like our audience is so cool that we told them, hey, during the week we don't care if you live stream matches to your Facebook, but not the pay-per-view. And we've only told them that once. We've never had a problem. They understand that this is a pay-per-view. It's awesome, man.
This is how we pay for the other 3.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It really is like that too. Like the first 3 shows of the month, we normally don't have a bunch of people there, but then that pay-per-view, it's so packed that the last show, the fire marshal was going to shut us down.
Yeah.
It was so packed. There was in that area where we put the fans, that studio side, you maybe fit 50 people in there comfortably, where you have a little bit of room. It was so jam-packed that when I tried to go out to work the lights for a segment, I couldn't, because I couldn't squeeze past people.
Wow.
And going off of the money,
show up all the time at them pay-per-views.
going off the money of that night, there was over 100 people there. And that, like I said, occupancy of comfortability 50, we doubled it. It was insane.
And the
Nice.
fire marshal had to come, which in Cottage Hills, that's the highest ranking officer.
It's like the mayor showing up.
Oh, yeah. And they stayed. They watched the show.
Was that
It awesome.
Bubby? Is he?
I thought Bubby was the governor of Cottage Hills.
Yeah, that's him. He's a governor. All that stuff.
There
Yeah.
you go. So this
Great.
Sunday,
Hale's gonna get a big head
this
now.
Sunday, the doors will open at what time?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. This
First bell's
Sunday,
at
the doors
3:30.
will open at 3 o'clock, and it's right behind you, Slimmers, right on 140.
Yes, sir.
In Cottage Hills.
You'll see all the cars back there in the lot.
If people want to look you up on Facebook, it's just Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance.
Yep. CHWA, Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance.
CHWA, and then you've got the YouTube. Have you got like a regular website? You got a website, or is it just?
No, we talked about maybe doing like a streaming service website where we'll stream like old matches and stuff. But I'll be honest, I'm somewhat computer savvy, but I've never really coded or done anything with websites, so haven't really got around to it yet. But we do have a merchandise thing. I think it's, if you go on teespring.com and you type in CHWA, there's a bunch of merchandise you can get on there.
Cool.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, how important do you think? This is my last question. How important do you think it is to have that weekly show? Like, is that consistency helping you guys?
I think so.
Because I don't think anyone really
I
does.
just think
that.
it really separates us. Ever since I've been a part of this company anyway, we are different from any other wrestling company that I've ever been around or seen. In the fact that we start with what you said, we wrestle every week. A lot of other promotions, it's maybe once a month, once every 2 months,
Right.
something along those lines.
Well, I'm thinking on a Sunday afternoon, I'm just going, I wonder what to do. Well, they always wrestle on Sunday. You know, I don't
And
have
that's
to
why I
look
tell
it
a lot
up.
of people, it's $10 for an adult to get in, 12 or older, it's $10 to get in, 3 hours of entertainment. You know, can't go to the movies for 10. You know, movies
Yeah.
probably gonna be more than $10. Probably ain't gonna last 3
The
hours.
popcorn's more than $10.
Yeah. So
How'd you talk him into being the announcer guy?
Okay, to be honest with you, this is
awesome you brought that up.
This
I
is
said I
the
wanted to
best.
work
This
this
is one of
story
the
in.
best stories we got.
proud
So
of it.
he
That's
came
a good
to one of the shows
the
after.
first John Holyo.
Yeah, it was the first John Holt. It was day 2.
I missed the first day of the
And
tournament.
after the show, he was standing there and he was like, "Man, if you guys had some commentary, I think it would make the matches mean more. It would be cooler."
Well, that John
Clay Ready Made.
Clay Ready, I can remember his real name, but yeah,
Yeah.
Clay Ready made. He was a kid that came up from Arkansas. Him and his brother came up for Best in the Backyard 1. That's what kind of started
John
all
Holt.
that.
Yep.
And when he wouldn't be wrestling, and he had the camera, he would commentate. And so after that weekend, I'm watching the shows back on the YouTube channel, and I told my son, I said, "Man, you guys need to get a commentator, because when he's commentating, it sounds a whole lot better than when the guy's holding the camera and says, 'Hey, after the show, you want to go to McDonald's?'" You know,
Exactly.
Yeah, there
what's
was a
going
lot.
on? Don't
Yeah.
talk about where you're going after the show.
There was a lot of that too.
So Christian
Live and
said,
learn, right?
Christian said, "Well, why don't you give it a shot, and we'll put a post on the CHWA page to see about getting a commentator." So we were eating on our way here this evening, and I told my son, "I don't think I've ever seen that post."
It never
on
got posted.
CHWA. I'm still waiting for us to post for a commentator.
I never posted it because
I'm still here.
back then I'm not as hands-on with the editing of the show as I used to be. Our ring announcer Dilly does that now.
He does so much for
Oh yeah, he's a
you.
worker.
Shout out, Dilly. We love you.
I agree with that. And so like, but I oversee the editing a little bit. But like back then, I was the only person that knew anything about computers other than what Google was, right? So I would take all the footage and I would put it on my computer and I'd watch it. And just listening to him commentate, the first thing I said is, man, he reminds me of Tony Schiavone. Just kept editing. And then finally, after I got through that first show he commentated, I was like, just not going to look for another commentator. I just kept editing, and I never posted it. And it's
the first time I seen it, I was like, he's the perfect guy to do it too. That's what I thought, because I've hung out with him enough. I'm like, I knew he had the gift of gab. Yeah. So I'm like, and there's times when you're doing that, as you talked to me about off air, that you're just trying to guess on what to say and even who the guy's name is. You're trying to remember.
I do have a tendency, the kids do crack up at that. I do have a tendency when we get new wrestlers, it throws me for a loop. Yeah. Because, they'll come up to me. Hi, my name's Bill. Don't tell me your real name. I don't want to know your real name. Because that's the worst thing I can do on camera is call you by your real name. Yeah, so I tell these kids, I don't want to know your real name.
And that's what got him the job.
So I get friend requests on Facebook, and I have to click on the pictures. I'm like, who the hell is that? Oh, well, that's, so-and-so from, but I don't know their real names.
Well, that's what got him the job was I got thrown out of the ring at one point, and I hit the ground, and as I was flying through the area, because I was flying right toward him, and he was like, and Chris Exodus coming into your living room, and I was like, okay, who says that in wrestling anymore? You watch wrestling now, and it's just arm wringer, guy has him in a top wrist lock now. There's nothing. He does color and play-by-play at the same time, and it just blows my mind that he can do both.
I have had people over the years who'll say that I'll start watching the show, and if you're not there, I turn it off. No. I'm like, don't do that. I take it as a compliment, thank you, but please watch these kids.
Yeah,
I'm like that, and I'm on the show. If he's not commentating, David Wolf's pretty good.
Yeah, we got a new co-commentator with me, and it's nice being 52, and I'm the young one.
David Wolf's 73.
Dave's 73 or 73, I think he said. So, cool. But we do talk a little bit different language, I think, compared to some of these younger kids nowadays. But we would get new kids in the company. I think Christian referenced Matt Revelation earlier. We had Matt Revelation join the company, Brian Ballista. This was back when we were still at Lucas's, the first original backyard we were in. And those kids would get wrestling, and Chris Exodus would be in the ring, and I would say, Chris Revelation takes Brian Exodus. And the kids, they'd be in the middle of the wrestling match, and they would stop and, I got those names wrong, didn't I?
I had Matt Revelation.
Shapin knows exactly what you're talking about. He calls bands the wrong name all the time on her. He makes up names for them.
There you go.
He did that. You did that with Sid Manson recently. You were calling him
I kept calling him Sid Vicious.
Sid Vicious, Sid Holland. Then at one point you called him, I think you called him Marilyn Manson or something. I'm like, Dad, my Lord.
But he's new. So
he's brand new.
It's going to take me a while to get traction there.
I get it.
All right. Well, I guess we're out of time.
We are.
All right. Well, that was great.
So, hey, thanks to the Godfather.
Thank you very much.
And Chris Exodus and the CHWA Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance every Sunday right there behind Schlemmer's. And the YouTube channel, if they want to look it up, is just CHWA.
Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance.
Everything's under the same thing.
There are two of them. The old one that we don't post to anymore, it says CHWA 2016. It's blue. The logo is blue. The new one is the current logo that you can find on Facebook.
Okay. There you go. And check them out on Facebook to find out any of the upcoming wrestling matches you want to see.
Yeah.
See whose card gets pulled next. So, thanks again to the Godfather. Thanks to Chris Exodus. Big thanks to our sponsors.
Thanks for having us.
Music and Matt Van Boris of Macias Insurance. And everybody get out and support local music, art, and wrestling.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you for having us.